Hello, hello, hello. I am so glad to be back doing Facebook Lives. I have a series coming up for you, and I am ready to get started. So, I hope that your back to school is going well. If you're watching this live or if you're watching the replay, tell me in the comments where are you watching from? What do you do? Are you a parent, a grandparent? Are you an educator, early childhood, elementary, an SLP, special education teacher? Let me know in the comments. I love a lively crowd here, and I love any comments I can read along the way to let me know that you are here with me. And I am Tara. I am the face behind Autism Little Learners, and I'm a speech language pathologist. And I have a passion for making materials and trainings for parents and educators of autistic children, especially young autistic children. And I want to help you so you're not overwhelmed, so that you can feel confident in taking some strategies and easy to implement ideas and put them into practice in your home or school. I live in Wisconsin and I teach in Minnesota. And if you've watched me on my Facebook Lives before, you might notice the background's different. I moved into a new house in, when was it? It was just like less than a month ago. In September, I moved into a new house, or we, I should say, moved into a new house. A week later, we got married. Things have been crazy. Just had my honeymoon in Nashville and the Smoky Mountains last week. And now we are going to settle into a routine, which I look forward to, both at school and at home. I teach full time in addition to running Autism Little Learners. So I am in the trenches with you. And let me know, how's your year going? Mine's been a little up and down. It feels a lot more normal than last year, but we're still feeling some of the effects of how rocky and up and down the last couple of years have been. Hi to Mary. Hi, Shauna. Thank you so much for the congratulations. Tracy's watching from South Africa. That's amazing. What time is it in South Africa right now? Keep the comments coming. I love knowing who is here and who is joining me tonight. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with me, and I'll get started. Mary, fellow Minnesotan. Awesome. Love it. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about 3 ways to use symbolic words or symbolic sounds, exclamatory words to build language. So tell me, how many of you have students that are non-speaking or have minimal verbal skills? Oh, Tracy's watching from South Africa and it's 1:33 in the morning. Thank you for being here in the middle of the night for you. You're amazing. Hi, Joanne and Isabel. Thank you for joining. Okay, so you guys, let me know in the comments. Do you have students, either your own child or on your caseload, that are non-speaking right now or minimally verbal? And you're wondering, how can I get them to start talking or imitating, that kind of thing? Mary's a grandma of an autistic grandson, nonverbal. All right, I am glad you're here. You're in the right place, Mary. Okay, so what are symbolic sounds and exclamatory words? Let me know. Have you guys heard that term before? Do you know what they are? So, symbolic sounds and exclamatory words are part of typical speech development, speech and language development for typically developing children. And for autistic kids who are non-speaking or have minimal verbal skills, these type of sounds can be easier to produce. Joanne says, almost 5-year-old getting his words to come out. Yeah. So we all have students that maybe are just starting to talk or be verbal. So this is a great place to start. And as we go through this little mini training tonight, I'll kind of tell you why and a few ideas for how to get started. So these kind of sounds are easier to produce than words. So when you're thinking animal sounds, so animal sounds are a symbolic sound. They represent something related to the animals. It's not the animal's name, but think of the word sheep. What's easier to say, sheep or ba? it's way easier to say ba. And I won't bore you with all of the speech and language details, but the SH sound, sh, and combining that in a word with an ending consonant is a lot harder to say than ba. Ba is one of like the beginning sounds that kids learn, and doing that consonant and then a vowel, that is a really good combination. So consonant vowel CV combination, much easier to produce than an entire word. So you think of all of the animals' names, horse, well, neigh is going to be easier to say than horse. And so that's why this is such a great place to start. And if you're not sure where to start with kids that are maybe not imitating single words yet, this is the place to start. Um, Now, symbolic sounds, we kind of use a lot of these words interchangeably, but I'll break it down a little bit for you. So, symbolic sounds are short, one or two syllable sounds. They're easy to produce, and these sounds represent something. So, they might include the animal sounds like we just talked about. So, moo, meow, a snake saying hiss, that kind of thing, animal sounds. Environmental sounds are sounds that you hear in the environment, right? So a clock, you might say tick tock. A train, choo choo. And a fire truck might be wee wee wee. So you think of all those sounds in the environment, someone knocking, all of those kind of things. And then there's people sounds like snoring. That's one of my favorite ones to do with kids. For some reason, you pretend to snore and they're like right there with you, watching you. So a lot of times, like when we're doing songs, if it talks about, there's a pumpkin song that we do and it talks about being yawning and being tired. And I do this and go, so that would be a symbolic sound. And I feel like my students are really drawn to those kind of sounds. Sneezing, the ah, achoo. Like you do it a few times and you leave that pause and build the excitement. And a lot of kids, again, start to have some joint attention around that. They start to cue into you and look at you if you're doing it with a lot of expression. So, this is why I say exclamatory words are those fun little words full of emotion. So, we just talked about symbolic sounds, but then if you look at exclamatory words, they're the ones that are so fun to do and you can make them part of all day, every day. So these words are a lot of times part of kids' vocabulary before they can say real words. So I'll give you an example of them and then we can chat. So examples of exclamatory words might be, oh no, uh-oh, ouch, oopsie, wee, yummy, yucky, wow. And I probably said almost all of those today with students. So I have a student that last year was non-speaking, and we tried to do some flashcards, get him to imitate some words, or even during play, naming animals. He was maybe interested sometimes in those things, but the thing that for him really got him were these exclamatory words. So I would do something like drop something on purpose or something really did fall, and I would go, oh, oh. And for some reason, this little guy, especially the oh phrase, that got him. I saw him turn to me and watch me, and he wasn't saying it yet, but I was like, okay, I'm going to use uh-oh a lot every day for all sorts of things that kind of go wrong. So, uh-oh. And then what happened? He eventually started saying it. So, you guys, let me know in the comments. Do you have any kids that are starting to say some of these exclamatory words? The oh no, uh-oh. I had one today that was saying wow about a whole bunch of things. I love to play with toys and have a little slide and do wee, wee. It's so fun, and that repetition. So a lot of our kids um, that are autistic are also apraxic, meaning that their brain, I'm putting this in a very layman terms way, but their brain knows maybe what they want to try to say, but they can't get their muscles on command to articulate it. So, doing these simple things repetitively in a fun way can really help make some of these sounds more automatic. And, these kind of sounds, along with the animal sounds and the symbolic sounds, are part of normal language development, and they're just such a great place to start with students that aren't speaking yet. So let me know in the comments, do you have any students that say any of these? Playing around with these words can also help the little ones develop joint attention. So like I said, if I'm exaggerated and excited and I say, uh-oh, and my student looks towards me, references me, then I have a big facial expression, uh-oh, and then I hold it, oh, and if they start to reference you like that, you've got the beginning of joint attention. And it's super great because once they start noticing you and noticing what you're doing, they're closer to starting to imitate you. So, imitating is a building block for everything. Once kids can imitate, you can teach them language skills. You can teach them some of the verbal skills. You can teach them uh, any of the learning activities, academics, that kind of thing. So, when kids start imitating, it's so exciting. Okay, I'm going to go back and answer a few questions. Could the same strategies work with dual language learners? I don't have like research on that, but I figure anything that gets kids understanding, talking, gets that joint attention going, it's not going to hurt. Kelly says, I have several students who are very willing to use the exclamatory words, and using realistic pictures on a popsicle stick to use during the reading of a book has been a game changer. That sounds awesome. If you have a picture of what those popsicle sticks look like, post it in the comments or something, or send it to me. I would love to share that. That's a great idea. So, hear me when I say you have to be fun and exciting for this to work for joint attention. So if someone's just sitting there going, uh-oh, it's probably not going to work as much as if you're like, oh, and wait and give some wait time. And if they reference you, you can say it again. Uh-oh, it fell. So super, super fun. Oh yeah, Kelly said they use the story uh-oh or oh no during the book Cookies Week. So if you're not familiar, it's a simple, repetitive book about this cat that gets into all kinds of trouble. And it's great because the book is repetitive and simple with the words, and that would be such an awesome place to insert uh-oh. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I know, I wanted to tell you about a free list that I made, and I just put it together this week, and it's in my most recent blog post, which you can find if you go to autismlittlelearners.com /sound list. One word, sound list. And it's just a PDF that has a list of exclamatory words, a list of symbolic sounds, a list of animal sounds. So you can use that to kind of spark some ideas of where to start. And different kids will kind of be attracted to different things. So I have some students that absolutely love anything having to do with animal sounds. And then I have others that are more like loving the full of emotion exclamatory words. So each kid might be a little bit different. You'll just have to kind of figure out and play with it a bit. So let's move on. Now that I talked a little bit about each of these, what they are, what an exclamatory word is, what a symbolic sound is, let's go into the 3 simple ways to use these to build language. So one is kind of obvious. Model the symbolic sounds, right? So here, you want to model these during play and during the daily activities. So, like I said, if you drop something, uh-oh, or you can kind of set it up and do it on purpose during some activities. Oops. Today I was in gym class and I had the ball and I was bouncing it going boing, 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 boing. And a lot of kids I could see were referencing me with that sound because the sound is so silly. And they weren't saying it yet, but just that little bit of referencing, they know you're there, they're hearing what you're doing, and that is that first little step into joint attention. Be thoughtful about your tone of voice and your facial expressions. You want to be fun. You want to be the most interesting thing in the room. You're more fun than almost any of those toys. So if you can be the most interesting thing in the room, it's going to get you a long way. I already said a couple times, accidentally drop things on the floor, so you can use uh-oh or oh no. Um, you can pause videos when something happens in a video, or just pause it in general if the child's not going to be upset by it, and go, uh-oh, what happened? Okay, ready, set, go, and start it up again. And just model it right away. They're maybe not imitating you, and that is okay. Like, just keep modeling these things and know in the back of your mind you are using these exclamatory words to build language, to kind of build that basis, try to get some referencing going on, and also um, saying sounds that are going to be easier for them to articulate and say. Obviously, playing with things like farm animals and pets, and just get in there with them during the play and model those animal sounds. All right, number 2, the second way that you can use these to build language is make a book. I have, and other people have, you don't have to get mine in particular, but we have flashcards that can be used to have use them as flashcards or put them into a book or a booklet. So a book, the reason why a book or putting these, I'm going to hold them up right now, putting these on a ring, the reason that would be helpful is because think of your students. Sometimes we have students who like repetition. They like predictability. And so if different people are playing with toys in different ways, it's not predictable for them. But that's where sometimes flashcards or booklets can be helpful, because as they're learning these sounds, each page is predictable. So they start to recognize this baby, the sound that goes with it is wah, wah, wah. And this one, oh, he's drinking. Gulp, gulp, gulp. And she fell off, or her bike broke. Oh no, oh no. So it's funny because some of my students who really like structure and they really like predictability, going through these cards, they'll actually pick them and want to do them because they love the emotion and they love the predictability. And they'll start to learn what some of them mean. Then you can generalize and expand these sounds, but starting out with something very predictable, like these cards, it stays the same each time. And that can be reassuring and helpful, and can kind of help with kids that have trouble with that motor planning to get the articulators to do what they want them to do. So you can make a book for animal sounds. You can make a book or a ring of flashcards for symbolic sounds, exclamatory sounds. You can make your own. You can, like I said, Google it and purchase one from anywhere. And then number 3 is using visuals during play. So you guys, let me know in the comments, have you seen my themed play visuals? So they cover lots of things like functional play, how to do one-step play, how to do two-step play with different themes. And one thing I have in all of these sets are a visual for exclamatory symbolic sounds. so that you can refer to them. You can um, put the animal down and point to one. Oh, look, he's snoring. And have the farmer snore. So it gives you something consistent and predictable to look at too. So I would use visuals during play. Using these sounds during everyday activities like play can be the most meaningful. So flashcards are great and they serve their purpose for certain kids at certain times, especially if they like that predictability. But also, we have the uh-oh flashcard, but we're also going to model it during the day. The uh-ohs, the animal sounds during play. Um, and during play is also one of the best times to really make it fun and make it meaningful. Visual supports can help learn new play skills along with these symbolic sounds, and they can provide a predictable way for autistic children to make that connection. Okay, so I have a resource recommendation here, or a couple of them, I should say. So the exclamatory sounds. This is one that is new, and it just came out a couple weeks ago, I think. And so that is just flashcards, like I said, that you can put in the book. And I'm just going to show you some of them here. This one is shh. And thinking, owie, oopsie, mwah, num 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 num, wee. You get the idea. So they have 2 data sheets with them. So the set is split into 2, and they have data sheets with them that you can take the data and know kind of what the kids are making progress on, what they need to kind of fill in. And that can be really helpful when you're monitoring progress, because I know in schools we have to do that. We have to show that we are making progress, right? Okay, so that's the exclamatory sounds. Now with animal sounds, and I just updated my set. I've had this around for a while, but I just updated it and added a couple of things. And so they're just like big, simple pictures and have the word on there. A lot of our kids aren't reading, but it can prompt the adult on what to say. So you can take these and you can lay them out, or you can make an extra copy, and like the picture here, you can put them on a file folder, and then you can use it as an object to picture matching activity. This is nice because for our students that like structure and predictability, they go, okay, here's the horse, I'm going to match the horse. As they're doing that, you can make the animal sound. So, neigh, neigh, yes. And it gives, again, that predictability and that structure for kids that really thrive and need that. So you can make your own object to picture activity, and I love making all sorts of object to picture activities. All you need to do is like go in a playroom at school. Sometimes we have random toys, and you can dig through and find little animals and put them in a baggie together, and there you go. You can make an object to picture activity. All right, and then these are the ones I talked about. This is specifically for the farm theme, but it's the play visual supports. So you can see here, there's little flashcards, or you can have it on this one sheet like this. But you could just start with one during play. Let's say we're gonna do wah, wah. And so I'm gonna have the flashcard out for wah, wah. And we're gonna make all the different animals cry. And so this is where you can add that visual support, because a lot of our students are visual learners, and it can help them make that connection. And here is another example of the animal flashcards. So this is where you can see in this picture, I found random, like the owl is a finger puppet, so is the frog. And then some are like tiny little beanie babies or tiny little figurines. And I tell you, my students love matching these, and because they're drawn to matching and this structured activity, it's a great time to be able to add in that animal sound. Okay, and we are coming to the end of tonight's mini training, but I wanted to let you know today after school I went in and I put together a bundle. So if you haven't purchased the animal sounds or the exclamatory sounds, you can get them at a lower price right now. And I'm going to make, it's in the works, in environmental sounds. So that would have the things like the snoring and the sneezing and the fire truck sound. That is coming soon, but if you buy the bundle, you'll get that one for free. So it's $7 for the two that are already done. And then when the environmental sounds come out, you'll be able to download for free at no cost. So when I'm done here, I'll just put the link in the comments if you're interested. No pressure to buy. I just wanted to let you know it was there. It's been something, so a lot of my students this year and last year have come in really more non-speaking, more minimally verbal, easy for me to say. And so I've needed to create more materials to really support those kids. And I don't know if you guys are seeing that too. So really, instead of starting at imitating words, that kind of thing, we are going to imitate and say exclamatory sounds, animal sounds, symbolic sounds. So that is why I'm making more materials for that, because I needed it. And usually if I need something in my classroom, you guys are the same. You need it too. We see the same things, the same trends, I feel like, when we talk. So anyway, that I will put in the comments. And then next week, same time, same place, Tuesday, 6:30, I'll put a notice out so you can RSVP. But I'm going to be talking about Gestalt language processing. And it's autistic children, more of them than not are Gestalt language processors. So you guys, tell me, have you heard this term before? Just one last question before we go. Have you heard the term Gestalt language processor? Or are you just starting to hear it more in the last year or so? It's super exciting to talk about because it describes so many of our students. And I'll tell you a quick story here before we go. And it's okay. Like, I love where people say, nope, never, I've never heard of it. Yes, I've heard of it. Some have heard of it, but can't remember exactly what it means. So we're going to do like basic 101. Like, let's get down to just learning about this next week. And I'm going to help walk you through that. But I'm going to tell you a little example. So I have a student right now, and she is for sure a Gestalt language processor. So she learns chunks of language, right? Instead of just one word at a time, and then two words, and then a 3-word sentence. So these are our kids, you guys, that have some of that delayed echolalia, and a lot of times like from songs or movies, and they can maybe sing an entire song, but they're not using 1 or 2 words to ask for what they want, right? That functional language. So they learn chunks of language. Now this is your little sneak peek. So the story is, I have this little girl. She is for sure a Gestalt language processor, and she loves songs, loves music. She can sing all sorts of nursery rhymes. Well, she came to work with me the other day at my little spot, and she went to sit down and she missed the chair. That happens a lot in early childhood. I am shocked how often that happens in early childhood. They just miss the chair. So she missed the chair, kind of fell on the floor, and she looked up at me and she said, "We all fall down." And I was like, oh my gosh, that is from Ring Around the Rosie. The end of it goes, "We all fall down." So she took that chunk of language that she learned from a song and she used it super appropriately to let me know that was her way of telling me, like, hey, I fell down. But she went back to that predictable chunk that she had learned from the song. But it was so cool because she applied it so appropriately. So if you're going to join me next week, over this week, whether you're watching me live now or you're watching the replay, notice and think about some of those like pat phrases or phrases from movies or songs, and jot them down so you can share them next week. if you hear your kids and students using them. So I am super pumped for next week. I hope you are. And I hope you have a great night. And we'll talk next week. Thank you for being here. Bye bye.